Every successful person, no matter their background, shares one powerful secret: they've learned how to stop worrying about money and start creating value instead. Whether they're entrepreneurs or employees, artists or athletes, these individuals carry a calm confidence that allows them to focus on possibilities instead of problems. They've trained their minds to see abundance where others see lack, and this single mindset shift has changed their entire lives. In his transformative teachings, Richard Carlson reminds us that the key to peace, prosperity, and purpose lies in how we think. When you stop letting fear and doubt control your mind, you open space for clarity, creativity, and confidence, the true foundations of wealth. Money, success, and happiness begin not in your wallet, but in your thoughts. Every great journey begins with one small, brave step. Before you can reach the top of a mountain, write a book, or build a business, you must take that first move forward. It might seem insignificant at first, but it's the bridge between dreaming and doing. Most people hesitate because of fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of the unknown. They wait for the perfect time, the perfect plan, or the perfect confidence before starting. But perfection is an illusion. Success belongs to those who take imperfect action now. Richard Carlson once shared a beautiful story. After finishing his doctorate, a friend gifted him 26 volumes of Carl Jung's writings, with a note that said, "If you read 8 pages a day for 7 years, you'll finish them all and become as wise as Jung himself." The message was clear: greatness doesn't happen overnight, it's built step by step. Like George, a millionaire who started his wealth journey by depositing just $10 into a savings account with his wife decades ago, big success begins small. George later said, "If we hadn't started that day, we wouldn't be where we are today." The lesson? Start today, even if your steps are tiny. Don't wait for someday. Someday never comes. The only perfect time is now. Every small step forward builds confidence, momentum, and results. One day you'll look back and realize that your 1,000-mile journey began the moment you dared to start. True wealth also begins with giving. When you give from your heart, your time, effort, kindness, or money, you invite abundance into your life. Richard Carlson explains that money, like energy, is meant to circulate. When you hoard it out of fear, the flow stops, but when you give freely, you keep abundance moving. It's like water: when it flows, it stays fresh; when it's blocked, it stagnates. So give generously, not because you expect something back, but because giving multiplies the good in your life. Tip the waiter who smiles through a long day, thank the driver who brings you home safely, or help a neighbor who needs support. Every act of generosity creates ripples that return to you in ways you can't predict. Giving isn't just about money, it applies to love, respect, happiness, and success. When you share encouragement, you receive encouragement. When you help others grow, you grow too. Life mirrors what you send out. The more you give, the more you receive. It's the divine cycle of abundance. Alongside generosity comes one of life's greatest lessons: non-attachment. Many people misunderstand this. Non-attachment doesn't mean apathy or carelessness, it means doing your best while releasing your need to control the outcome. It's about pouring your heart into your goals without being crushed if things don't go exactly as planned. Richard Carlson teaches that when you cling too tightly to results, every small setback feels like failure. But when you focus on effort instead of expectation, you discover freedom. You stop working from fear and start working from peace. Attachment whispers, "What if I fail?" Non-attachment says, "If I fail, I'll try again." This mindset keeps you calm, confident, and consistent. It allows you to enjoy the journey instead of suffering through it. Success isn't guaranteed, but growth always is. When you stop chasing outcomes, you start mastering yourself, and that mastery attracts everything else. Here's another powerful truth: you can make excuses, or you can make money, but you can't do both. This idea might sound harsh, but it's liberating. Excuses are fear in disguise. They sound logical: "I don't have time, I'm not ready, it's too risky," but deep down, they're just ways to avoid discomfort. The most successful people in the world feel fear just like everyone else, but they act anyway. They don't wait for courage, they create it through action. Every time you make an excuse, you strengthen your limitations. But every time you take action, you expand your possibilities. The truth is, the gap between where you are and where you want to be isn't filled with luck or talent, it's filled with consistent action. From this moment on, whenever fear tries to stop you, tell yourself, "I can't make excuses and progress at the same time," and then move forward. To achieve that level of inner strength, you must learn to become less reactive and more responsive. Carlson explains that in life, we operate in two states, reactive or responsive. When we're reactive, we let emotions rule us. We snap, overthink, and panic. But when we're responsive, we pause, breathe, and choose. Reactivity comes from fear, responsiveness comes from wisdom. A reactive person sees problems, a responsive person sees opportunities. When you learn to pause before reacting, you give yourself the gift of clarity. You start making decisions from peace, not pressure. And that single shift can change your life. Success doesn't come from working harder, it often comes from responding smarter. Another key lesson from Richard Carlson is to work on knowing instead of believing. Beliefs often come from others, parents, teachers, or society, but knowing comes from within. Beliefs can be borrowed, knowing must be lived. Carlson shares how he always felt called to teach and inspire others, but his early life didn't reflect that dream. He wasn't a great writer, public speaking terrified him, and he barely passed English. From the outside, no one would have believed he could become a best-selling author. But Richard trusted the quiet voice inside him, the voice of knowing. He followed it with faith, practiced relentlessly, and proved that knowing is more powerful than borrowed belief. That same truth applies to you. Inside, you already know what feels right, what excites you, and what brings you peace. Trust that inner voice. Your intuition is your compass, it already knows the way. You just have to listen and act. And as you move forward, remember this, your life begins now. Too many people live imprisoned by their past, believing that old mistakes define their future. But the past is gone, it has no power over you unless you keep reliving it. You are not your history. You are your present choice. Every sunrise is an invitation to start again. No matter what you've lost or how many times you've failed, you can rebuild. Let go of regret, guilt, and shame, they are just waves behind your boat. The only thing that moves you forward is your present energy, your focus, your will. Life doesn't begin when everything is perfect, it begins when you choose to live fully, right now. One of the most practical ideas Richard Carlson shares is the 1-hour solution. We often think success requires massive effort, but what really matters is consistent effort. You don't need to quit your job, risk everything, or wait for luck. Just dedicate one focused hour every day to your dream. Use that hour to learn, build, create, or practice something meaningful. 1 hour might not seem like much, but over time, it compounds like magic. 1 hour a day becomes 7 hours a week, 30 hours a month, and hundreds of hours a year. That's how people build businesses, write books, and change their lives, one focused hour at a time. Consistency creates miracles. Start with what you have, where you are, and trust that every small effort counts. Another vital principle is focusing on your critical inch. Most people stay busy all day but rarely move forward because they're busy with the wrong things. They clean their desks, organize files, or scroll endlessly, avoiding the hard tasks that truly matter. Richard Carlson illustrates this perfectly with a story from the gym. He noticed two types of people. One group trained with purpose and left in 30 minutes, while the other spent hours chatting and taking selfies, wondering why they never saw results. That's life in a nutshell. Most of us are active but not productive. True progress happens when you pour your best energy into your critical inch, the one task that moves your goal forward the most. Identify it, protect it, and give it your full focus. When you master that, success becomes inevitable. To keep progressing, you must also be willing to change. As Carlson says, if you keep doing what you've always done, you'll keep getting what you've always gotten. Growth requires flexibility. You can't cling to old habits and expect new results. Many people resist change out of fear or pride, saying, "That's just who I am." But those words are self-imposed walls. Change isn't losing yourself, it's becoming more of who you're meant to be. Be open-minded, humble, and ready to learn. Ask for help if needed. Sometimes one conversation or one new idea can unlock a breakthrough. The willingness to adapt separates those who survive from those who thrive. To sustain success, cultivate what Richard Carlson calls wealth consciousness. This isn't about being obsessed with money, it's about adopting a mindset of abundance. People with wealth consciousness don't chase money out of fear, they attract it through calm confidence. They understand that wealth begins with trust, not stress. If you constantly worry about money, you block the flow of opportunities. But when you shift from scarcity to abundance, new doors open effortlessly. Whatever you focus on expands. Focus on lack, and you'll find lack everywhere. Focus on growth, and you'll find abundance everywhere. Money follows a peaceful mind. So stop saying, "Once I'm rich, I'll relax." It works the other way around. Once you relax and trust yourself, you attract the success you've been chasing. And perhaps one of the most freeing lessons of all, learn to laugh at your mistakes. When you overthink your failures, they grow larger in your mind. When you laugh at them, they shrink back to their real size, just lessons. Laughter doesn't mean you don't care, it means you're wise enough to understand that mistakes are part of growth. Every error carries a gift of insight if you're calm enough to see it. A relaxed mind sees solutions that a stressed mind cannot. When you smile at your missteps, you release tension, restore creativity, and keep moving forward. There's no mistake big enough to destroy your peace unless you give it that power. Laugh, learn, and move on. Life becomes lighter, clearer, and more joyful when you stop fearing your flaws. In the end, Richard Carlson's message is timeless: peace of mind is the most profitable investment you'll ever make. When you stop worrying, you start creating. When you stop clinging, you start growing. When you give freely, act bravely, and live calmly, success follows naturally. Remember these 12 lessons: take the first step, give generously, practice non-attachment, stop making excuses, respond wisely, trust your inner knowing, live in the present, commit one focused hour daily, focus on the critical inch, embrace change, develop wealth consciousness, and laugh at your mistakes. Each one is a stepping stone toward a richer, freer, and more peaceful life. You don't have to wait for luck or permission. The power is already within you. Let go of worry, open your heart, and take action with faith. Because the moment you stop worrying and start creating, life itself becomes a blessing, and wealth, happiness, and peace will naturally follow.